All right, welcome to another episode of Piecing It Together, the podcast where we take a look at a new movie and try to figure out what movies inspired it. And today on the show, we are getting back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Spider-Man No Way Home, a movie that, as we will get into in the conversation, is mostly inspired by other Spider-Man movies, but you know what? That's coming up soon in the conversation, but we got a lot to talk about here. Joining me for this one is Kevin G from Gutting the Sacred Cow podcast, and we got a fun conversation coming up. Before we get to it, I do want to remind you, as always, to make sure you're subscribed to Piecing It Together wherever you listen to podcasts. You can, of course, rate us and review us over on Apple Podcasts and Podchaser and Good Pods, and now, as of this week, on Spotify as well. So if you're one of those people that listen to us on Spotify, which we actually do get a lot of listeners on Spotify, make sure to drop the 5-star rating. That would be really awesome if you did that. Consider it your Christmas gift to me, just taking that moment and hitting 5 stars. I would very much appreciate that. It would be the best thing for me to unwrap this week as I'm unwrapping my Christmas gifts. But yeah, so also you can follow us on social media at Piecing Pod. Join our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces, where we continue the conversation about all the movies we talk about here on the show. And last but not least, don't forget, we do have a Patreon, the Produced by David Rosen Patreon, where I combine content from this podcast, from Awesome Movie Year, which is another movie podcast that I produce, and from my music career. Lots of stuff from my music, bonus albums, bonus tracks from my released albums, and all kinds of stuff. So check it out. It's patreon.com/bydavidrosen. So let's talk about lots and lots of Spider-Mans, and of course, spoiler alert, because we will be getting into the big reveals, as we always do on these episodes, but I feel like this is, I need to capitalize the spoiler alert on this one, because if you haven't seen it yet, there's a lot we're going to spoil, so maybe go listen to one of the other episodes first, go see Spider-Man No Way Home, which it seems like everybody has already, but if you haven't, go see it, and then let's get into this conversation. All right, it's time to get back into the Marvel Cinematic Universe for, I don't know, like 5th time this year, 4th time? I don't know. It seems like there's been a lot of these movies lately, but joining me is Kevin G from Gutting the Sacred Cow. Kevin, how's it going?
What's going on? How are you, sir?
I'm great. It's that end of the year push, though, so it's just non-stop doing stuff. I was just wrapping presents before we jumped on this.
Oh, but it is the holiday season, so good for you.
Gotta do it. Yeah, you gotta do it, man.
I'm not a rap. My wife's the better rapper. I'm artistically garbage in the sense of arts and crafts. I'm an abomination, and that's why my wife does all that for me and everybody else.
Yeah, mine have big lumps on the sides, and it's a mess.
It doesn't make sense to give a shit about it because I mean, you look at it for 2
it's going
seconds
in the trash.
Right? Exactly. And the person who's getting depressed going, "Oh, dude, you can't rap for shit." Oh my God, it's a new James Bond movie. Like, see, they don't give a fuck. It's so passe beyond that point. Like, who cares? It's useless.
Is that what you're hoping to get for Christmas this year, Kevin? I
will be getting that on Blu-ray, I'm sure. If not, nice. I'll be after opening all my presents, I'll go right on Amazon and get it the next day.
Nice. Awesome. Well, we're going to talk about Spider-Man today, but before we do get to that, why don't you tell people about yourself and your podcast?
I would love to. Those are 2 of my favorite topics. How did you know? Mm-hmm. So I'm Kevin Gootee, comic podcaster, voiceover artist. That's all fine and well. But my podcast I do with my co-host Kevin Israel, it's the best movie podcast out there because no one's doing what we're doing, and I'm going to tell you why. We invite our guests to pick a film they find overrated or hate, but here's the twist. They have to pick a film that meets one of these criteria: widely beloved, critically acclaimed, or a financial success. So you can't come on and go, Friday the 13th Part 7, that's a real piece of shit. Yeah, no kidding. We know that. So
right.
The goal is to get people, we have people on our podcast who pick a film, and then you, the audience, look at your phone, your tablet or whatever and go, what? So-and-so hates, well, this week we're doing It's a Wonderful Life. They hate It's a Wonderful Life? Blasphemy. And the week before that we did Dumb and Dumber. So what we're doing is we're giving a platform to those people who have an unpopular opinion and try and see if they can convince us that that film they've chosen is indeed overrated or trash. Sometimes we agree with them that it is. Sometimes we're saying, I'm not going to die in the hill for this. And sometimes we say, no, you're a moron. That film is perfect or great. Yeah. So we're doing, and that's guttingthesacredcow.com to find We're on all the podcast platforms, Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, YouTube. Do us a favor, subscribe to whatever podcast platform you are on. And for YouTube, subscribe, and that's a nice thing to do. And write us a 2 or 3 sentence review, 5-star rating, if you'd be so kind. We do that, and every day on guttingthesacredcow.com, we have blog articles Monday through Friday. So guttingthesacredcow.com is where you find everything you need to know about our awesome podcast.
You are good at the podcast plug, Kevin, I got to say. But that sounds like a podcast for this particular moment in time where everybody is just going at each other over their favorite movies, and everybody seems to hate everything that everybody else likes, and that tends to happen a lot nowadays.
Yeah, I would say so, but I'd say there's a lot of commonalities when it comes to either hating or loving stuff. It's just, again, with our podcast for a second, it's finding those few people that are just dead set against it and giving them an opinion. In fact, we invite ourselves once a year. My co-host and I will sit in the gutter chair and we'll pick a film that we hate or find overrated. So
nice.
We just taped 2 a couple weeks ago. He did 300 and I did The Princess Bride.
Okay, those are tough choices because I don't know. I feel like most people like both of those, but I'll have to listen to those episodes.
They do, and that's why it's gonna be fun to listen to see us tear them apart.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a feeling not a lot of people don't like this movie though. Spider-Man: No Way Home. I mean, I don't know how your showing of it was, but mine was one of the most ecstatic crowds I've sat in so long. People were so excited. I mean, we've seen the Twitter shares of all the people cheering, but that's exactly what it was like at my crowd. And I know some people don't like that experience. They want to just sit and watch the movie and have the story unfold. I thought it was fun. It's not like it happens every time, and for once in a while, it's a fun, unique theatrical experience. And I am a big champion of the theatrical experience. And so to have something like that happen, especially after these last couple of years, I thought it was kind of a blast to sit through.
So I'm on the other side of that coin. I hate when people do that. I don't mind the goddamn, when something happens. Like, you get a few of those in this film, and I was guilty as sin, going shit, when a few things happen. But I hate when people cheer in the theater because you know why?
Why?
The actors can't hear you, and there is no pause. Because if it was a play, the actors may have a pause to let the ooh or whatever. In the film, the director, the editors, they don't know that people are cheering, so they're not pausing, and then you're missing dialogue or action, and I hate that. Shut up, watch the film, don't enjoy it, give a good or whoa, damn, don't carry on. They can't hear you. They can't appreciate your applause or your cheers. Stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess people just want to be a part of something. That's what it comes
You are a part of it. By sitting in the theater, we're a part of it, but we don't need to cheer and enjoy while ruining it for the people who just want to listen to that.
Fair enough. So I think this is going to be an interesting list of puzzle pieces by the end of this episode, because I mean, I know my list is kind of all over the place, and there's a few cop-outs in it, I would say, but it's kind of the nature of this movie in particular, and kind of where we're at as far as these big blockbuster movies and the way that they are kind of turning in on themselves with the self-referential and just fan service, and especially as we get into all this multiverse business. I think we're going to see more and more of this going forward, and Doctor Strange, and of course going over to the other side to the DC stuff with the Flash and all that. We're going to be getting more of this, and I don't know, this particular show, it's going to be weird going forward what movies inspired a movie that is so clearly inspired by itself.
True, agree.
Yeah, it's going to be weird, but let's start jumping in though. Usually I have my guests start with the first piece, but I think I'm going to actually go with the first piece today because I think it's really important to get this one right out there, and that is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which technically is a separate thing from these particular movies. It's its own continuity, but at the same time, as we see now with this movie, who knows where what ends and where what begins with these movies and which universe is which. So it could eventually end up being the same thing, all part of, the same continuum. But really just the idea of seeing multiple Spider-Men in the same movie. And of course, spoiler alert for this movie. I mean, anybody who's listening to this will have seen it. And by the way, with the box office tally starting to come out, I think everybody is seeing this weekend. I
haven't looked at any numbers. What did you see so far?
I think it's up to 150 million so so far without Sunday. They're saying
wow.
it
Without
actually has
Saturday
a chance.
too. I mean, shit.
Yeah.
It's early East Coast. It's 1:00 as we tape this right now on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Wow, 100. What'd you say? 120?
150, I think,
150
is what I saw.
And it had a day, actually
A day and a
36
half
hours. Yeah,
still.
exactly. It came
Yeah.
out like middle afternoon of Thursday. And it sucked because I had
Yeah, this is a
work
freaking
stuff.
beast, this movie. It is just and you know, make no mistake, the pandemic's still going on, and so that is just it's freaking crazy. So
Well, it
a
shows-
lot of people are seeing it.
Yeah, it just goes to show. People are like, oh, I'm not going to the movie theater in a pandemic. But when you put a I can't miss this film
Yeah.
in the theater, well, fuck it. Throw me, throw 2 masks on if that's how you feel and go out there and sit through it. And
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, well, dude, I was out there. The first thing I saw in the theater was Tenet the day it came out. So I was back in the theater off jump. So
Yeah.
but yeah, no, this is something people are like, oh, the pandemic's fucking up movies. No, it's not. Bond made a good amount of money. This made a good amount. Is going to make a great amount of money. So I think those excuses are over. And I wish they did not push.
Think so.
Yeah, I wish they didn't push. It's going to sound weird. I love Tom Cruise films. Just as a quick aside, I love Tom Cruise films. I fucking hate how they took and they pushed back Mission Impossible to next year. I love
That's going to be the end of an era when that finally comes out, because that's, I think, the last delayed movie that we haven't gotten
Well,
yet.
Maverick as well.
Kingsman is next week. But yeah, that's what I meant. The Top Gun Maverick is going to be the last delayed, already shot movie.
Well, no, it was also, like I said, Mission Impossible, and I think Jackass comes out February. But yeah, but those are the 2 ones.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. Yeah, but the 2 Cruise ones are the ones people are looking forward to. But you're right, that's pretty much the end. I know Bond was a big one, Fast 9 or whatever it is, and yeah. Anyway, sorry to go off on a tangent.
Tangents are our bread and butter here, man. But
Right on.
so yeah, End of the Spider-Verse. What do you got for your next piece?
So they jump right into it with the characters. I mean, the first 5 minutes, you get Matt Murdock, and I did not know or pretend to even think that was coming. And that's one moment I go, God damn! You see him with the cane, you see the glasses, you go, oh shit, Daredevil!
Mhm.
All right. Only problem though was, and I wish he would have made an appearance later on again, but that was a quick tease to go. I wanted to see more of him, but you know what? I was looking fastball and I got curveball. So well played, Kevin Feige and company. I liked seeing the early introduction of a character, especially one that was so well wrapped. I mean, we all heard rumors of the other, characters and saw a quick shot or two. But this one, no idea that was happening. How about you, David?
No, I had no idea it was happening. As a matter of fact, I had so little idea that was happening that I didn't know who that was when that moment happened. But everyone in my theater was so excited. I've watched all of these movies, but I have completely just not watched any of the TV shows that are involved in the Marvel universe. So I had no clue who that was, and I had looked it up afterwards. I was like, oh, that's Daredevil. All right, that's why everybody was so excited. Cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised you know that was Daredevil. I mean, at first glance, you see a guy with red glasses, but then the blind man cane thing. I'm like, oh shit, there you go. So yeah. I'm a little surprised. Yeah, that's my first point was the Daredevil appearance.
Right. Yeah, and I guess I just don't know Daredevil because I don't know these Marvel characters outside of the movies. But I guess that's what it is when you didn't really grow up with the comics and you don't pay attention to the shows, and you really just know the characters that are in the movies, but he's in them now. So, but I'm going to go outside of Marvel movies for my next pick. But it is a director who is involved with the Spider-Man movies. I bring up Evil Dead way too much on this show, but I am going to go to Army of Darkness from Sam Raimi, of course, who directed the original Spider-Man trilogy of movies and is directing the new Doctor Strange. But mainly because our hero messes up a spell, and that is what sets everything in motion, all the craziness and all the wacky hijinks that ensue. And so I figured Army of Darkness, going right back into Sam Raimi, one of his best movies, and Ash messing up a spell, and that's what causes all the Deadeye army to come to life and start wrecking shit in the medieval times. And so I figured that's a good parallel here for how everything starts off in No Way Home.
I'm not a Raimi guy in that sense for Army of Darkness or Evil Dead. So I didn't catch that. So good on you.
Not a Raimi guy. Well, all right. I guess it's not for everybody. But what do you got for your next piece?
I love the introduction of each of the villains we saw in this film. I didn't know. I mean, we all knew Green Goblin was going to come back and spectacular entrance. We all knew that it was going to be Electro as well, but didn't see Sandman coming back, and I like how they brought him back. I go, oh, Marco, oh shit,
Right, like all of these Spider-Man villains from the other Spider-Man movies.
yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
the way they told, and that's what makes it so great. And one of my rules is you can't have a superhero film with more than one villain; it doesn't work 98% of the time, and
Right.
and this one destroyed that theory just for a nanosecond because again, look at other superhero films that have two villains and it doesn't work. But this one had three heroes and what, six villains, five villains? So they went in there,
yeah.
but again, it all comes to, and they all got a good amount of screen time each. They all got their gem. They all got their, Doc Ock was the other one I forgot about too. We all missed. But
Sure.
they all weaved it in and out with the perfect amount of dash of this and a sprinkle of that, and they all got their characteristics out there, and each of them had emotional moments. You're like, oh, okay, so Doc Ock is pissed, but then he goes, you know what? Peter Parker's doing this for the good of science. Great. Sandman was just like, I'm with it until he's not. Electro, same, and then the Green Goblin. And you knew he was sitting there going, he's not going to be for this in the end. There's no way he's going to buy Parker's plan to not kill everybody and then be a good guy, quote unquote, until the end. So you're just waiting for him to turn. I loved how they were able to masterfully weave in all these heroes and villains with just the perfect amount of ingredients and the perfect timing for each.
Right. And yeah, I mean, it's taking so much from these other Spider-Man movies that you kind of, and I talked about this at the top of the show, that, it's going to get weird doing a piecing it together episode when we're talking about a movie that is so inspired by its own series and that's picking and choosing little bits and pieces from all the other movies. So it really becomes an interesting conversation, or maybe a less interesting conversation. I don't know how to exactly put that, but when all of these things come from the other Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, exactly. And I also, I love when they take chances, and most of the Spider-Man films, no one really dies unless it's a villain. And they kill Aunt May. Didn't see that coming. Didn't see that coming. I thought when they said, I thought I caught someone saying someone dies. And then in the end, I'm going to jump around. When Goblin stabs Maguire's Spider-Man, I go, fuck, they're going to get him too? I was like, that'd be great. Like, just pure balls. Like, I love when they go all in with the death, because again, most of these comic book films don't do that. I'll give you where it works great, which is this, and where it doesn't work great. This is where it works great. You know where it didn't work great? Where they had balls and they tried to, and they kind of go, ooh, water's too cold. Rise of Skywalker. That film fucking sucked. I hated it. But the part I'm going to specify is when they take Chewie on the ship, and then the ship blows up, and you're like, oh, motherfucker, they killed Chewbacca? What? And then, oh no, it's okay, he's fine. He was on another ship. Like, oh, you pussies, like, give me a break. Don't tease it.
Yeah.
That was a waste. Hated that. But with this, kill off Aunt May, great. And I was going to say, holy shit, they killed Maguire, but they didn't. But I would have been fine with that, just as like another ballsy approach, unless they're really going to bring the multiverse and have all the Spider-Men back in a different capacity or different films, if that's in the cards for Maguire or Garfield. So
right, which I kind of doubt, but I mean, I guess we'll see what happens. I mean, especially with the amount of money it's going to make. So
yeah, if Maguire might have been like, I'm done. I've got all the residual checks coming in for 1, 2, and 3, and they're like, yeah, here's $50 million to be Spider-Man again. Like, when's costume need my new measurements? When I have to go to the wardrobe for a new suit?
Yeah. Well, Rise of Skywalker is actually on my list as well. I mean, this is kind of the good version of that, kind of like you were just saying. I mean, and that's the thing that worries me going forward with these Marvel movies, is everything with multiverse. And once anything is possible, it kind of, removes the stakes quite a bit. And, if anybody could just be brought back to life, and there could be alternate versions of people and all this stuff. And it would be interesting to see if they stick with Aunt May being dead, or anybody in this being dead, and don't bring them back when they, eventually do more Spider-Man movies, which I believe Tom Holland's already signed on for more of these. So hopefully they don't, but Rise of Skywalker like kind of gives into all the worst tendencies of where, Hollywood is at this moment, and just giving fans exactly what they want, even if it's maybe not what they should be getting, because maybe they should be getting a better story.
Right.
So yeah, Rise of Skywalker is, absolutely on my list as well. I'm going to go to definitely a cop out, but back to the idea of having 3 Spider-Mans in this movie. Spider-Mans. That meme that everybody shares of the 3 Spider-Mans all pointing at each other. That has become such like a thing of late, and that is so clearly like the impetus of making this, to finally get 3 Spider-Man characters in one movie all pointing at each other. And it's such a huge fan moment, and it's basically fan service on top of fan service on top of fan service.
Mhm.
And I think that meme sets that up so perfectly.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was. I'll yes and you. I loved when they sat and compared notes of each being Spider-Man and their own experiences, and kind of like playfully like one-upping here and there. I wish there was at least 3 more minutes of that, because I had a big old shit-eating grin on my face when they were just comparing notes, and the web shooter scene where they're like, "What? You mean you don't have to build the web shooter? Just comes out? Like, is that the only place it comes out?" That was cute. But I love their experiences. My next point, though, I love J. Jonah Jameson in this first 3. And I damn near got a boner when at the end of 2, the last Holland one, when they had him go on and go, "Oh, thank God!" And they see him in the trailer for this one. I'm like, great, perfect. But you know what? They didn't give him the dialogue and the bullet quick witticisms that he was doing in 1, 2, and 3. You're fired. All right, you're hired. Like shit like that. That whole relationship he had, I loved, and I didn't get it with this one. I know I am nitpicking.
Yeah. Well, I would say, like, as far as like a puzzle piece is concerned, I mean, he's kind of become more and more like an Alex Jones type, right? At this point with this like incarnation of the character. And so I think that there's a lot of Alex Jones in what they're going for with what he is at this point. So yeah, he's not as quick anymore. Now he's just loudmouth and an idiot, basically.
Sure. Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm like, damn it, I want my share of J. Jonah Jameson. Now, I actually put this on a very, very vague review, because again, you can't talk about this film because it is so many spoilers in it, and you can't really do it a full review. I said the one thing I wish they could have done differently. I mean, and this is a complete, what the fuck, dude? You're really reaching. I get it. If they would have had a multiverse version of J. Jonah Jameson come through, where he was the old JJJ, and you're fired, you're hired, like all that again, just coming through the portal or something like that with the other Spider-Man, where he could have had a one-off with him as he was in his studios doing his podcast or his whatever the new show he did. I just would have spontaneously combusted if they would have had that happen, or just the old one met the new one. And
yeah, we got multiple versions of the villains, multiple versions of the Spider-Man. Why not? Let's get more J. Jonah Jameson in there too. But I will go to my next piece, and we talked about Tom Cruise earlier, about Top Gun, but I'm going to go with Top Gun. Maverick just being so cocky and so sure of himself, and bumping heads with the other people in his flight school, and basically putting everybody else in danger because of his, not really quite thinking and just not really thinking through his plan, and just being so hard-headed, and it ends up putting everybody else in danger. And so I think Spider-Man, in a way, in this movie is putting everybody else in danger with his, not really thinking about his plans before he, jumps headfirst into them.
Right. I'll bring it back to Star Wars. I like how he went on Anakin, Holland did, where he's about to kill him. He was about to kill the Goblin in the very end, and then you see Maguire go, "No, I've been through this kind of thing. Don't do it. It's not worth it. You're not going to get that retribution." And I like seeing him just, instead of this, whimsical, innocent kid who just happens to be Spider-Man, fight, and then now he has demons, which is something that, I mean, Maguire had some. I don't remember the Andrew Garfield ones. I didn't think they were that good at all. So the only thing I remember is Gwen Stacy dying, and then I go when they talked about it in this one, I go, oh, that's right, because every Spider-Man film has to have one good person dying. And Uncle Ben, the first trilogy, the second one being Stacy, and this one, I guess, now being Aunt May. So, but I loved seeing him go dark and just seeing him just kind of have that vengeful streak just show up, and then having Maguire needing to kind of just say, "Nah, man, it's not worth it. Don't do it," and stopping him from killing the Goblin, and then there you have it with the Goblin having that moment of the bipolar going back to the nice scientist side of being an innocent guy going, oh my God, what did I do, kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I mean that's so Star Wars, and I'm glad that they pulled him back from that, and that it doesn't take things over, because I mean otherwise this just becomes the same as all of these other superheroes that are all just wrestling with so many demons and all that stuff, and Spider-Man should be like the more fun one,
Mm-hmm. Sure, I agree.
So I'll go to my last piece, and that is going to be the John Hughes 1986 classic Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely. Just these cool, fun kids just like going out and having fun, but ending up causing all these problems that then they have to figure out some way to fix it all, and that's kind of the same drive here with No Way Home. Is these kids they mean well, but they end up ruining everything with their plans, specifically Spider-Man, of course. The other two are just kind of along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
But then they all have to get together and fix it. And very Ferris Bueller-y in a way. And of course, that would make Spider-Man the Matthew Broderick.
Except for a creepy principal stalking him.
Yeah.
Who turned out to be a pedophile.
Which I guess could be J. Jonah Jameson. But,
actually, that's a good parallel you just drawn right there. Nice job.
There you go.
I like that. I like how they gave Ned more, and they made him, he got the ring and he's able to open portals. But that was pretty cool, playing a role with that instead of just being the fat friend with the, a cutesy poo help out kind of moment or quip. Or let me get a computer server open for you. We can hack into blah blah blah. Like he was actually a little more useful. I'm gonna go. No, I don't think on a limb. I think Zendaya is boring as Mary Jane. There's nothing about her that you can. She's very cardboard, very vanilla. Then she's just this cheeky, spicy gal, and I don't know. She didn't do it for me.
I think she's all right, but it was funny at my screening. There was like a quiet moment where Zendaya is talking. I forget exactly like what she's saying or what moment it was, but she's talking to Peter Parker, and the guy next to me says to the guy next to him, "God, she's just so real." And I was sitting in my seat just laughing.
Yuck.
So I don't know. I guess that's what they're going for, maybe with this particular MJ. But I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the single name. I mean, Madonna, Bono, they were something before, and then they had that name. Zendaya was doing what before she became Zendaya? Yeah, I'm not a fan.
If you're gonna do a single name, you got to just jump right into it. You can't just build up.
Prince.
You have to like go all in.
I think, but I don't think she's gonna have the longitude. Maybe. I mean, good luck to her. Who am I? But I don't think she's gonna have the longitude that some of these other single name people have. But go ahead, Zendaya. Go knock it out of the park. Prove me wrong.
So I will go down the list of everything we just talked about, which of course included lots and lots of Spider-Man and lots of Marvel, as well as lots of Star Wars. Alex Jones slipped in there somewhere. Army of Darkness, Top Gun, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. And that's our list here. Not a lot of other movies outside of Spider-Mans and Marvels, but that's what it is. Are there any other things you wanted to bring up about this movie before we wrap it up?
The one thing I was waiting for, and I was like, well, they can't bring him back, was Harry Osborn as Hobgoblin, because now he's too busy, getting Me Too'd, I guess. And I was, they had that conversation many a time. Like, can we bring him back? We should bring him back.
Can we or can
is it
we
going to
not?
Is it going to tarnish the brand? I don't think it would, because this movie's going to be too goddamn big for people to go, I'm not seeing it because what's-his-face is in it, No.
Yeah.
That was one person I go, do they have the balls to bring him back? I hope they do. That'd be kind of cool to have the both goblins reunited. And and see how that played out. But all right, I mean, I get why they didn't do it, but I was wishing for that just to see how the.
I was hoping to see Paul Giamatti as Rhino in like a post-credit scene or something, but that would have been fun. He was the only good part of Amazing Spider-Man 2, as far as I'm concerned. But
that's it's funny they didn't have Scorpion, which they teased at the end of one, the Holland one, and Vulture as well. I know he's in the Morbius movie, but I would have thought, those guys aren't going to make an appearance either. That would have been kind of
I guess
cool.
they had enough, and they just figured, let's just stick to the old ones. So.
Yeah.
I'll just throw in here real quick. Jason from Binge Movies mentioned The Dream Team, which I have not seen. I believe you have not seen either. I think we tweeted about that. But one of these days, I'm going to have to watch it and see how it lines up to all of these. I know it's about a bunch of crazy people that have to work together. So I guess I could see where he's coming from with that one. I'm going to have to watch that one of these days.
I don't remember if I saw it or not. It's just it was one of those, like, if I did, it was a one and done, and it didn't stand out in a bad or a good way. So. Yeah, I know. Is that the worst? It's probably the worst thing you can have is like, oh yeah, I saw it, and it made it wasn't memorable at all. So
that's kind of a lot of movies, but
yeah, true.
Well, speaking of which, is there a movie you watched recently you'd like to recommend to our listeners that maybe does stand out a little bit for you that you
Spider-Man
enjoyed? Go see it again. Raise that box office up.
Yeah, no, you don't need my help. What did I see recently that I really, really liked? You know what I saw, and I was late to the party? Train to Busan was fantastic.
Cool.
You ever see that?
Yeah, a while ago, but yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was late to that one. And I watched another one on Netflix just yesterday, another Korean zombie film. Was it called Live? It was a Netflix original one.
I don't know this one.
Not as good. Train to Busan was solid. I haven't seen anything in the theater. I have to rack my brain that stood out to me recently that I was just like, wow.
Aren't they making like a remake of Train to Busan, and it's like Train to Cleveland or something?
Yes, they are.
Like something stupid and Americanized
and it's going
like
to be
that.
Bad. My rule of reboots is this: don't reboot it if it's already great. You know what, Phil? You know what reboot is great? Dredd. Why? Because Judge Dredd stunk, and they redid it. And they made it right, and it's good. And I'll say the first Star Trek film. I'm not a Star Trek guy by a lot, but that reboot was good. But don't reboot good films. RoboCop was great. Point Break was great. Total Recall was great. Don't touch them. Stop it, Hollywood. Force yourself to be more original than just like, let's just go back on the old 80s and 90s nostalgia, kids, and make something up. Try and carbon copy that. Stop it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good message to go out on here.
One question for you. What would you give Spider-Man on the old 1 to 10? That's what we do at the end of our podcast.
Oh, sure. I'd probably go, because I did a 3.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, but I'm kind of leaning towards maybe raising it to a 4 just because of Willem Dafoe. He's just so
great,
fun to watch. And but yeah, I mean, I liked it a lot, though. It's still a lot of these Marvel movies don't really get above that 3.5 or 4 for me, so it is on the high end of them.
Surprise.
Yeah, they're not really my thing specifically, but they're fun though, and I think that this is one of the better ones for sure.
It's in my top. It's either right on the cusp or it's in my top 5. I'm pretty sure. I give it an 8.5 out of 10. I think this blew the doors off of, a lot of stuff. I would put that. Top Marvel 5 would be both the final 2 Avengers films, Ragnarok, this, and Winter Soldier are my top 5.
Yeah, good picks for sure. Absolutely. So, Kevin, where can we find your podcast?
GuttingTheSacredCow.com is where you find everything. This week, as you hear this, we are going to be airing the Christmas episode of It's a Wonderful Life. Upcoming movies we have done are Lawrence of Arabia, 300, The Princess Bride, and Wonder Woman. That's another one that we just did, was Wonder Woman. So those are the films that people have targeted for gutting. Can they do it? Find out at guttingthesacredcow.com on all podcast platforms and YouTube.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for doing this one with me, and maybe we'll get you back on the show again sometime.
Would love to do so, Dave. Thank you.
I'm Josh Bell.
And I'm Jason Harris, and we co-host a podcast called Awesome Movie Year.
Each season, we take a look back at an awesome year for movies, which is every year.
We deep dive into these specific years, and we pick out why they were such great years for films. We go over the biggest hits, the biggest flops, the best picture, some personal picks, some cult classics,
Years we've covered in past seasons include 1994, 2003, 1977, and 1984, and we've got all of film history to look forward to. So check us out at awesomemovieyear.com or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that conversation about Spider-Man No Way Home. We talked about the box office a little bit during the conversation, but at the time of me recording this intro and outro, it is $253 million, the third biggest opening of all time, happening during a fucking pandemic. I mean, I don't even know what to say. That's freaking crazy, but I'm glad people are enjoying this movie. And, Paul Thomas Anderson last week, he basically said he's happy for movies like Spider-Man bringing people back out to the theater. I hope people come out to the theater for this, are reminded, oh yeah, the theater is an awesome way to experience a movie, and then show up this coming weekend for his Licorice Pizza, because smaller movies like that, the best way to see them is at the theater. And so hopefully people will, be reminded that it is an awesome experience to see a movie in the theater. And of course, the pandemic's ongoing, so be safe when you're doing it, but it's just the best. So our Licorice Pizza episode is coming up next week, by the way, along with a special look back at the original Matrix trilogy, and then an episode on the Matrix Resurrections, and then our end of the year coverage on top 10s and all that kind of stuff. Lots of piecing it together coming your way. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you listen to podcasts. You can, of course, rate and review us over on Apple Podcasts, Podchaser, Good Pods, and now Spotify. So we really appreciate your 5-star ratings, and I love getting feedback from people too. So, leave a little review, or even just get in touch with me on social media at Piecing Pod, where I'm on Twitter way too much, but you could definitely get in touch with me there. Also, our Facebook group, Popcorn and Puzzle Pieces. So, yes, please do get in touch. And if you want to maybe join me for an episode in the new year, get in touch with me about that as well. Other than that, I guess let's close this one out. And I always do that with a piece of music from one of my albums or one of the films I have composed for. I'm going to go with a piece from my self-titled album, David Rosen, and the track Like Never Before. Just feels like a good one to go out with for this episode. So, this is Like Never Before from my album, David Rosen. Hope you enjoy it. We'll be back with more Piecing It Together real soon.
an All Points West production, produced by David Rosen in Las Vegas.